Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 14th episode of the Pixel Play Podcast, the weekly podcast where two grown-ass men get together to talk about everything they love about video games. Anything from news, topics of discussion, whatever basically interests us. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. Adam, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic. I have a functional computer for 7 whole days. It's amazing. I gotta tell you, I don't know how people do it only having a functional computer for 6. I don't know how. I can't imagine 6, maybe 6.5. I might give it 6.5. That might be doable.
Well, I mean, the minimum you need is just a 5-day work week. And then the rest, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, I do stream usually 4 days a week, so maybe that's close.
I can see how that works. Yeah, definitely could see how that works. So are we saying like you've gone 7 days without incident, or like 7 is the milestone, like that's the most you've hit and now you're fixing it again?
Yes.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Probably.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this week it's been a little bit of a slow news week. Well, we say slow, not necessarily slow, but not much worth discussing.
There's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot to talk about for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because it's like Square, people thought Square was being bought, and Square was like, no, we're not being bought. And I was like, oh, okay. Well,
okay, cool.
See, we just talked about that story.
Nailed
and then
it.
It's like, hey, Horizon just came out for free. And it's like, yeah, it did. And that's that story.
Yeah. So
there's only so much you can do.
Nothing super controversial or something that can spark debate for the most part. So this is going to be our second press pause episode. If you're not familiar, our press pause episodes, just a little bit more evergreen topics. We're going to kind of talk, just about things that interest us. Not anything that's kind of specific to this week in the news, but it's still a good show nonetheless. So
yes,
let's
please,
get into it.
Please stay. It's still going to be good. I promise. We need the money, and I mean money by I guess fictional. I guess we're getting paid in gil or rupees or I guess G. Wait, there's sometimes Z. Or Z, depending on where you are in the world.
Well, we could do GP for playing Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't matter,
Gold.
There we go. Wait, are you a Dungeons and Dragons player?
No, I've tried.
Oh.
Here's my problem with Dungeons and Dragons. I totally get why people love it. My problem is it's too goddamn slow.
Okay. Yeah, no, my wife and I, we've just gotten into it. I got into it, I guess, just before the pandemic hit. No, it was during the pandemic. I got into D&D, and so I've been playing it for probably about 8 or 9 months, and my wife has been playing for about 3 months now, and we're absolutely loving it. So it's been really cool. We've got a group of friends who are huge into it, and so my wife met the girl who plays through like a mommy connection group, and then it would just kind of snowballed from there. And now we're getting together every week and playing Dungeons and Dragons, and we're honestly loving it. So
yeah, I found it does 2 things that really, really don't go well with me. One, it requires good dice rolling, which is something I've never been good at. I always have bad roll luck. And then the second would be it's stories that take a long time to develop, whereas in the time that because my girlfriend, she does a run with a bunch of friends. They've been doing it for a couple of years, and I've sat in on a few sessions here and there. And every time they play, I listen to what they accomplish in 4 hours and go, man, I could have written 5 short stories in the times that you guys just went through one room.
Wait, so you're the one complaining that the story is too long and slow, but yet you're the one who plays 100-hour JRPG games.
Yes, because there are 1,000 stories within them.
Fair enough. No, honestly, I'm loving it. I have taken on the role. I was playing as a rogue, but I wasn't like a thieving kind of behind the shadows kind of that kind of rogue. I was literally trying to just role play as Han Solo, and so I was just smooth talking my way through everything, and it was great.
Yeah, no, my girlfriend's group, they love friggin' just literally talking their way out of everything.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing, and so at one point we had this situation where there was a Dracolich villain character who was stalking us, and I managed to sweet talk him into, or not sweet talking, but convincing him to join our group, and now he's the villain's one of his major lieutenants or whatever, and he's working with us, we go into this dungeon, and then I find another group of villains, and I'm like, hey, there's this guy over here. You want to come like kill him with us? And so I got them to join us as we betrayed him, and I got destroyed. I literally got burnt alive and then electrocuted. So it was no bueno.
You didn't roll a good initiative.
Oh no, the thing is, I was like, did you ever watch Community? That you've seen Community, right?
I've seen like bits of it, yeah.
Okay, so there's one episode that's hilarious, and the dean just like ends up like making deals and double crossing everybody, and it's like he's like, you're not playing people, you're just making random deals with everyone, and that's what my character was doing. It was quite funny, and now he's dead.
You were the Wayne Brady game show host of D&D.
Pretty much until it backfired and blew up in my face. So no, honestly, it's been great. I've been playing now, like I said, for a couple, like almost a year now, and I'm thoroughly into it, and so is my wife. So it's been great.
But so because I'm a master of segues. Speaking of things blowing up in people's faces, the PlayStation 3 and Vita stores.
You did it, buddy. You did it. You brought us there.
Our one story.
Yeah. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we knew that, at least from a rumor from the very beginning, because we've talked about it on the show already, that Sony was going to close down all 3 storefronts of PSP, Vita, and PS3. Now, PSP is still going to remain closed, but PS3 and Vita are now going to be remaining open for the foreseeable future. Jim Ryan did it. I don't know if it was him specifically or his name just kind of attached to it, because it was kind of his quote, I guess. But realistically, the blog page just threw it up there of them just being like, yeah, we've seen, the mistakes. We thought that we were doing a smart decision here, but it seems like we made the wrong choice here, and because of that, we apologize, and we're going to keep this up for a little while. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm so glad we were able to find a solution to continue operations. Where it's like, yes, because you know what that solution was. People panic bought games, and you went, oh, there's still a market.
Yeah, who knew?
And the first thing I said when the news came out, it'd be like, all right, so whoever didn't panic buy games, you better buy something now, because otherwise we're going to look real stupid if they make $0 for the next 6 months on that thing again.
Well, I mean, I know this wasn't really the topic we're planning to go through, but I mean, I imagine there is still some out there that are buying it. It's just they didn't think it was that big, but
it's what's the number, right? Because it could be there could be let's even just say as a number 10,000 people who are still actively maybe a couple times a year buying, still buying games on their PS3 digital storefront. But then the question asks, how much is that actually worth then? Because I mean, they probably are still making money on it, but you know how business works. If you're making $1,000, but then this other thing is making you $100,000, you might as well just shift your focus to the thing making you $100,000, because the $1,000 is still profit, but it's not $100,000.
You need all the money. So
their thought is oh, okay, maybe we're making 50 grand, 50 grand a year. Maybe it's a few grand, a week. Maybe, who knows? I can't imagine it's that much anymore. Who knows? Maybe if you're talking in third world countries where PS3s are what most people can get these days, maybe it still has some value. I don't know, but I can't imagine they're making remotely even. I'd be surprised if they're making 1% of what the PS4 and PS5 stores do right now.
Oh yeah, I don't imagine there's a huge market, but I think it's just, honestly, if Sony had been having some wins, I think it would have been fine. But they've just been having they just keep getting Microsoft throwing punches at them.
Well, they've been quiet for so long, and then the one time people are talking about them, it's a pretty negative story.
Yeah, and it's not a good look for them. So, but Adam, I'm gonna place a segue now. So, we're talking about the store being open. I thought this might be a good chance for us to, since you can still buy games from the PS3 and PS Vita store, I thought we could kind of just go over, what were some of the games that you played from that era? And this might not just be PlayStation 3 or PlayStation Vita, but this could also include Xbox Live Arcade games. What are some of your favorites that you remember from this era?
Well, there are 2 that immediately come to mind. The first one is, really, if I'd had a functioning PC, I would have gotten it there. But Minecraft was easily the best purchase I ever made on 360. And that includes any game I bought on disc, except for Mass Effect 2. That's the only thing I will not put above Minecraft. But Minecraft legitimately is the best thing that happened to me in that era, because so much of what I did in those days was competitive. I played a lot. I'm Canadian, so by law I have to like hockey. I used to play NHL like super hardcore back in the
Yeah.
day. And I got very animated. I was the guy that would throw his controller, but wisely threw it on the couch like a smart person, not on the floor or the wall like some people do. Which I'm like,
Using that big brain.
that's $70, guys. Why would you do that? But
Yeah, like
I got Minecraft on a whim just because I first saw it played on like a Let's Play. I don't know if you might have heard of them. I know a lot of people in the gaming community have Achievement Hunter or the Rooster Teeth guys.
yep.
So like I first saw Minecraft through them and I thought, "Oh, that looks kind of neat." And a bunch of my friends that I also played hockey with happened to also play Minecraft as like a side fun thing. So we did that and it was so chill. Just to be able to go in, sure, there's still like things like creepers and zombies to worry about, but realistically, it's a hell of a lot better than you playing 30 minutes of intense freaking gameplay yelling at your TV screen, whereas all you're doing is just shooting the shit. It was like my social tool back then.
Yeah.
Because you can play Minecraft, especially if you're on PC. There's a lot of modding that can make it a much more intense game, but base Minecraft is really not a crazy, like, focusing game. It's more something that you just play in the background and you shoot the shit with people.
Yeah.
And it was amazing for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got sucked into Minecraft so much, and honestly, I think it's a great game. Like if you have a system, it's just a great game to just throw on and chill and just do your own thing. And it's so versatile that if you have someone who's not even into games, it's so easy to get into, and like it's not hard to manage, and anyone can play it. Like it was the first game that my nephew played, and he was probably maybe 4 at the time, and he was just digging holes, and I just put him in creative mode and he just dug holes. He found the lava and he was just burning everything into lava and blowing stuff up with TNT because I showed him how to do that. And like he just had a blast with it. And that was his first game that he played. And even like it's so easy to play that I think anyone can kind of pick it up and go with it. It's Lego for video games, and I think that's perfect.
I mean, how can you not be upset when you're making your dumb fuck dirt house? How can you not enjoy it?
Exactly. No, I love it. It's a great game to play with others too. Like I said, my nephew was playing it and I play it right beside him, and he's out burning stuff with lava and I'm, building Star Destroyers in space. It's great. So yeah, one game, I think probably when I think of like the PlayStation 3 store and the PS Vita store, I think probably my favorite game from there is Rogue Legacy. Did you ever play this one?
I tried it. It wasn't really my thing because I'm not too big on those kind of games because I don't like dying over and over.
Yeah, you see, I'm not a big I'm not a legacy. Excuse me. I'm not a big rogue game kind of player where it's like die and start over kind of thing. But Rogue Legacy just hit like the mechanic where hey, you died and now your heir goes and takes over, and like there's a whole bunch of genetic sort of predispositions that affect how you play. So you could be like very tiny and like then your character is like actually smaller than what your normal character sprite is, or you have giganticism and you're like really massive, or one was like you are colorblind, so everything is like black and white, and like it's so cool to go through. And I just remember taking the subway back and forth to U of T and just playing Rogue Legacy on my Vita on the subway every day, and it was just so much fun. And I think that mechanic of dying and going back and doing it again like just was awesome and really well done.
Absolutely. And then from going chill, we go to the opposite direction where it's super intense and super depressing. The Telltale Walking Dead series, specifically the first season.
Oh yeah,
that one did a number on me, and I don't even care much for The Walking Dead at all. Like I never got into the TV series. I tried watching it. I watched like 2-3 episodes. Just couldn't. I found nothing into it. So I was like, what do I care about a video game for? And then I saw how highly rated it was. I'm like, all right, well, whatever, we'll take a look. I got the first episode. It might have been even free. That might have been how I got into it. And I couldn't believe how well written that thing was. And I went, holy hell, I need to play this whole thing. And then I ended up playing season 2. And then unfortunately, I haven't gone any further than that because I think Telltale kind of just started running out for me. Because I tried like Tales of the Borderlands or A Wolf Among Us, and just every single time I play them and I go, okay, I've kind of done this stuff before. Like, I don't know. This maybe it was just kind of like a burnout on that kind of style.
Yeah, I am the same way. Like I think not Wolf Among Us, but The Walking Dead was a PS Plus game at one point because I got it too, and it doesn't seem like the kind of game that I would have bought myself. And so I got it, and I agree with you. It was a fantastic game just to like pick it up and play it, and it just for me on the Vita, it just works so well to just kind of pick it up and go along. That was another one that I would just remembered playing, going back and forth to school.
And it's such a great game too because it really gets you to like sit down and go, okay, you can't just assume you're going to be the hero every single time you play a video game.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you basically lose when you play these games, which is why it was so much more fun playing the second season when I'm like, all right, I'm not going to give a shit about anybody. It's like, oh, I need to save this person. One time I think it was like a kid in the second season where it's just like, help that person. And I went, nah, kicked her off the edge. I'm just like, I know you're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to die at some point. I'm just prolonging when it happens.
I'm not making the mistake of getting attached to anything right now.
I basically just went, you know what? I'm going to just do everything to make sure I live.
Yeah.
And who would have known I managed to do everything I wanted in that game.
Yeah. I hated Kenny. Kenny was a jerk.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I can't even think of what the girl's name that you have to save between her and Kenny.
No, so it's Clementine. Like Clementine's the one you obviously save. And then he's got his son Ducky, I think.
Oh, sorry, I was talking season 2 at that point.
Okay, yeah. Who's the hell is the girl?
Because she's like this like blonde tomboyish looking girl.
Yeah, I remember. I found that I like. What did you think of season 2 versus season 1?
It was here. I think the other reason why I got burned out of them is because like I know that no matter what I do, it's pretty much going to end up in the same point anyway. It's just slightly different dialogue.
Yeah.
And with season 2, it was like I said, like I went in just not giving a shit anymore about people. So I just kind of went in it for myself. And sure, it made the game funnier in a way, but that's kind of not what the purpose of those games were.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like I think the Telltale games, especially The Walking Dead, I think it meant more because of the first time playing it. And then after that, it kind of just became all right, well, I know what I'm expecting this time. So I guess it's going to be more of the same, and you kind of like already, you're not really blown away by anything as much. And the writing did start to dip a little bit, I think, because, you know, it's like how some people they have that magic sauce, but sometimes they only have so much of it and then it runs out.
Now, do you think that like what was the like Telltale was hindered by the fact that they did sequels? Like I'm wondering if they had done like, hey, here's a story, it's standalone, and you could have drastically different endings. Like the problem with The Walking Dead is everyone got to the same spot, and it had to be so that they could make a sequel. And maybe what would have been better is if Telltale was just like, nope, this is one game, one series, and then we're going to move on to even a different story, and kind of, you know, you could have new characters in the sequel, and it'll be a different story.
Yeah, but I mean, we also do live in an industry where you're supposed to leave a door open because if it succeeds, you want to make 5 more of them so that you can get as much money as you can out of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point. One game that like going from really anxiety or stressful and hardcore to more chill is the Hitman Go series. Did you ever play the Go series? So
no,
Hitman
I've never
Go
tried any of them actually.
Yeah, so I never played the Tomb Raider one or the Deus Ex one, I believe that they had, but I did play Hitman Go, and Hitman Go was awesome. It's a cool little puzzle game, sort of like you're moving these little pieces on a board, and it has the feel of like Hitman. So like guards are watching you. You can take guards out, like if you go from behind or the side, like you can't basically attack them head on. And so these pieces and mechanisms are moving through the game, and you have to move your pieces in a way that kind of makes sense. And you're challenged by, you know, do it within a certain amount of turns, don't get spotted, don't use outfits. So it weirdly captures the experience of Hitman. And I know how much you love the Hitman series, but honestly, it's a really fun kind of puzzle game. And I think it's like, takes a couple hours to beat, but it's really good for what it is.
Yeah. The last one that I can think of off the top of my head, I mean, I could do a lot of research and really pull out a bunch of them, but the last one that really stands out for me, at least from that era, would have been, and it actually just got re-released, I think last month or maybe just a little bit before that, was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the video game.
Okay, yeah, I never played this one.
Have you seen the movie at least?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, the movie's fantastic for anybody who's never seen it. And then they made a video game that's basically like, Turtles in Time, like side scroller beat 'em up, kind of like, back in the good old days. And it's designed much like the visual, or not the visual, the graphic novels that were also a thing. And it really feels like, playing an old school SNES like beat 'em up side scroller with, just a modern flair to it, with like an anime flair to it almost, with the way that the graphic novel is kind of designed. And it's punishingly hard. Like you actually, it's almost like JRPG-ish in nature, because you do have to level up to get even better. So you won't. It's not like a game over and then that's it. No, you still keep like gradually leveling up as you play through the game. So you do get better and better and better as you go. And the soundtrack is fantastic in that game. That's the big standout thing. Anamanaguchi were the guys that did it, and it's one of my favorite gaming soundtracks that doesn't use like licensed music. It's just absolutely incredible for that, because it's pure like 8-bit, like just like modern 8-bit music, and it always sounded great. There's some certain songs that are obviously better than others, but like I think it's like the first level is just a fantastic song, and I can never stop listening to that. And like I said, the gameplay, it's everything that you used to like out of all those old games, like your oh my god, why am I blanking? Turtles in Time, Maximum Carnage, games of that ilk.
Yeah, like Battletoads and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One, like, I'm gonna give a special mention. I was gonna say this for the end, but like I haven't played the full game, but I remember playing it like with some buddies and stuff. Is Castle Crashers. That's another one from like the Xbox Live Arcade era. And that game is just, I love the art style of it, like the knights with like their different colors and powers. It's super cool. I think that's a really good one. The other one I want to give like a special shout out that I never played, but always appealed to me. I had it on the tip of my tongue. I just lost it. It was Castle Crashers, and there was another one. Anyways, I'll go back to it. So the other one that I played that I know that I did like was the Counter Spy. Have you ever seen this one?
That one I have, yeah. I've played that one too.
Yeah, what'd you think of that one?
That one was really fun. I put a lot of just random like hours into that, just because it's chill and stressful at the same time. Because like you can, if you're really good at it, you can just kind of mess around with it and have a good time.
Yeah, like, and it was neat how they did that. Like it was a 2D spy game with shooting mechanics, and I thought that was like really neat how they did it. The aesthetic, like that 1950s, 60s kind of Cold War aesthetic cartoon, was really, really cool. And I feel like that's one that kind of came and went, and it didn't get as much fanfare as I think it should have.
Well, it's like like we said in our argument when we were talking about backwards compatibility, whether it was feasible. It's like there's so many games in the present day that everything gets swallowed by everything else. So
yeah,
it's so easy for like really good games to get lost.
Yeah, for sure. But Counter Spy was a really good one. One that I know we're probably going to get some flack for not mentioning is Limbo. Did you ever play Limbo?
No, Limbo and Inside are both games that like I looked at and said, that's not my thing. Like I knew right away it wasn't my thing. And it's not because the creepy giant spider leg. No, that's not it. It's just when I see a lot of games that I see people really glot about, and the more I look at it, the more that I just think it's an art style. I immediately go, I know this isn't for me, because it's going to be like this artsy game with a message to it, or it's going to be like a little bit like unique. And more often than not, it generally doesn't jive with me. And I know it's like kind of like anti-hipster to say that, but I've always found what works for me is usually dumb shit. I'll just openly say it. I like dumb stuff.
Yeah, I played Limbo, and it was good. I think I came late to it, so I kind of like I came after the hype, so everyone had kind of like built it up, and it was fine. Like the aesthetic was kind of neat. Like I kind of got it a little bit, but it didn't wow me at all. But it was cool. It was a great game that was on the stores like digitally. So yeah,
I was too busy just playing Trials Evolution and just constantly like doing backflips and then landing face first into a giant fucking rock.
Yeah, there was a lot of like great games from like that PS Vita, PS3 sort of era, Xbox Live. And so, yeah, I'm glad that they're keeping the store so that those are available. If you haven't picked those up yet, I would highly recommend it, especially if you have a Vita. Like, I don't know how well things kind of hold out on PS3 now, but the Vita still holds up. So if you have a Vita, I would check out those games. I think they're definitely worthwhile and worth checking out. Any other ones you want to throw out there before we move on?
No, I think everything else that I can think of off the top of my head are more recent stuff now. I'd have to like go back and dig out my 360 to go through all the old games that I used to play and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about the but it's just there's only so much that old noggin can take when there's way too much other stuff going on at the same time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So yeah, moving past that, Adam, what have you been playing recently?
Oh, happy you mentioned that. So what a miraculous segue that I'm sure wasn't intentional.
Not at all.
I did finish a game. I mean, I've been playing Outriders a bunch on stream, which has been my main thing, which
Yeah.
I'll just quickly say I still love it, but it's the kind of love where I'm constantly angry at it because it's doing a lot of things wrong and I wish it wouldn't.
Okay, like what?
So here's two things. One, I cannot figure out the difficulty level that suits me because every time I play something, I do really well at the highest difficulty and then it throws bullshit at me and I suck. And then I have to turn it down like 2 levels to make it viable, but then it's too easy. So I'm like, okay, game, like I want to be challenged, but I don't want to be overwhelmed. But if I lower the difficulty, it now becomes too easy. But if I keep it where it is, you kick my ass. So I don't know what to do with that. And that's frustrating because the game isn't like when you ramp up the levels, it just makes them like higher level. It's not like they become spongy, they just become tougher. The problem is when you mix that with things like how aggressive the AI is, sometimes like unreasonably aggressive, it's really hard solo to accomplish what you want to. Because, I mean, sure, I can shoot 20 guys, but not if they're all charging me at the same time. It's kind of hard to shoot 20 moving targets in the same direction. And I don't have a lot of rockets, aka I don't have rockets. So it's not always easy. And then the second thing is, as a streamer, it's a friggin' nightmare trying to get the audio levels right. So, for example, when I have the base gameplay on, I have it set to about minus 20 dB on Streamlabs so it doesn't go too high that it supersedes my own voice. But in cutscenes, it's so quiet that I have to turn it up to minus 10 so that it's just legible. Because for whatever reason, I don't know if the game was built for like surround sound in its audio settings, but NPCs outside of cutscenes are like double as loud as they are in cutscenes. And it is so frustrating because
that's one of the things that annoys me too.
When I shoot my gun, especially when I have a certain ability unlocked, it is loud. And I can't turn the game down so low that it's not loud because the second that shooting stops, you won't hear anything now because it's that low. So it's at that point where it's like, I know that you probably can't hear a lot of the background noise going on, but I don't care anymore because it's either that or you can't hear me because the gun is so bloody loud.
Yeah. So like, is that like a situation where they just put like the conversation or like the NPC non-main cutscene dialogue?
And it's nothing I can control either because I tried turning the sound effects down. That just does sound effects for everything. So it makes the cutscene sound effects even quieter. So there was a point where you stop a floating rock and it should be really loud because you should hear the ba-chunk, but it sounds more like ba-chunk. It doesn't sound anything nearly as threatening, so it just kind of ruins the moment in some cases. And it's frustrating because I'm like, especially as a streamer, you're like, I know it sounds bad. I know I'm going to go back and watch this stream and think, this sounds horrible, and I can't do anything. Because I can't play a game and then also constantly make the slider go up and down to control the volume.
You just need like almost like a sound guy in the background. Just
I need somebody else next to me, like constantly moderating the audio.
Doug, turn up the volume.
But otherwise, I was playing an actual game that I finished, which was Maquette, which was the free puzzle game that was put on for PS Plus last month, I believe.
And now time for another Untimely Review with Adam CSRadical.
Actually, it's kind of timely because it only just recently came out.
A timely, untimely review.
There you go. I will sum it up in a very short statement. It's a really, really good puzzle game, but I hate it.
Okay, so let's break that down. How do you want to tackle this? Do you want to tackle this from why you hate it or why you like it?
I'll start with what I like about it.
Okay,
it looks beautiful and the concept is amazing. The concept that you have this dome, like almost like a toy, like a model like town in the middle of the map in this dome. Except anything outside that model area is the area outside the dome where you stand. So if, for example, you take this little tiny key from the model and put it outside the model, now you have a giant key on the floor outside. So it's kind of this thing of perspective that you use throughout the game. And if you can get over the wall and where you are, now you become tiny in like what seems to be this giant world out there. So it's like this multi-level. I think in the game there's 3 levels of size. There's your size, there's the model, like the mini model size, and then there's the giant size that you play throughout the game. And it's amazing. In the early points of the game, I loved it because it was really clever.
Yeah.
And there's a story that basically the game's story per se is just somebody getting into a relationship, breaking up, and getting over it. Like it's basically the entire journey of going through a relationship that ends.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was going to ask you, because like the story puzzle idea seems kind of cool, but I feel like it falls into that, and I mean, I'm not saying this pejoratively, but it falls into that like indie trap of like, oh, we're going to talk about a relationship and human stories, and I'm like, I don't really want that. Like, I want to have like, it doesn't appeal to me from a story perspective.
It was fine, but yeah, it didn't need to be there, and it almost felt it almost felt forced in some places. I still enjoyed some bits of it because it did feel kind of reminiscent of what it would be like. Because I mean, I've been in relationships where things get a little bit hot, things get a little bit heavy, and not the fun kind of hot and heavy. I mean,
we're
hot tempered. We have feelings.
We have lots of relationships, lots of women. Yeah. That's how we're working.
That pixel play mojo going on.
Adam, look at us. Like no one's not believing that we are just scoring chicks left, right, and center.
Well, with my my ever creeping baldness, I'm probably doing great for myself. But I mean, like I said, the story isn't like a deal breaker. It's just it depends on what you're into. Like I was looking for something chill, and then it gets depressing a little bit in the end, and I'm like, And it would have been fine if I didn't hate the game in the set from the second half.
So what happens in the second half?
So you know how a lot of people used to play puzzle games back in the good old days where you had to actually sit there and write out maps, like when you were playing Myst.
Yep, I can confirm those days.
And those were the days where you didn't know what the hell to do ever because there was no clear direction.
Oh, game didn't care if you finished the game. They were just like, we got your money now. Go kick dirt. We don't care.
Maquette seems to think I'm a genius. And I appreciate the optimism, but I'm a dumb fuck. And a lot of the solutions in that game, I could not understand how I was expected to figure that out on my own.
So did you use a lot of like game facts or stuff? Or
no, because you know how PlayStation 5 now has the guide system? I probably used it like 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
Way more than I would have wanted to, but that's how like frustratingly like over the top some of the solutions were. There was 2 times, and I can't remember them, but I remember the number of them. There were 2 of them specifically that I went, how in the blue goddamn hell did you think I was going to come up with that?
Yeah.
Like it's some of them where I'm like, guys, I could have sat there for 6 hours. Thank God I didn't stream that. If I streamed that, it would have been a nightmare. Thank God. But there was no way I would have ever come up with their solution. I would have sat there for days trying to and I would have just been there like, game, I'm dumb, help me. Like, just give me a hint, and it doesn't. You have to just be like, fine, and you finally pull it up manually and just be like, tell me what to do, please.
And it's just like, fine, I will tell you, moron. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. Are you happy?
I like puzzle games sometimes. I don't like puzzle games when they become, oh, you got to think outside the box. I'm like, I don't know what the box is. How do I know what's in and outside the box?
Yeah.
That's why I also hate The Witness, even though I kind of like The Witness.
I was going to say, how do you feel about The Witness?
I liked it until I didn't. As soon as I couldn't do anything anymore, and The Witness, I decided as soon as I had trouble with it, I'm like, I'm going to spend my entire time looking up the game facts for this. This is a waste of time.
I'm not stuck. I'm just quitting. Screw you, game.
It's like, you didn't fool me. I just don't care anymore.
Exactly. No, for me, like, Maquette seemed like a cool idea, and I don't know how much the story kind of intertwines, but like, for me, those kind of stories, like Gone Home, Maquette, there's like a bunch of other ones. They just remind me of like the guy in like high school, early college who just like has an acoustic guitar, and like it's the equivalent of the kid with the acoustic guitar who writes love songs and like songs about breakups and girls. It's like that, but for like game developers and programmers. And not to say that there's not a place for that, it doesn't appeal to me in what I want to do with my gaming times.
But at the very least, because I played both Gone Home and Tacoma, they don't demand you to be a fucking scientist who knows how to just figure every little thing out. They just, especially Gone Home. Gone Home is like, go walk around and find shit. Just look at everything and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, this seems more like it's like Gone Home, and every once in a while they throw a Rubik's Cube at your face. Just be like, figure this out, and we're not telling you the rest of the story until it's done.
It's like, you know, when you're just starting to get your times tables in grade 3, and then they just whip calculus on you.
Yeah, here's some imaginary numbers. Okay.
Because like the beginning of Maquette, I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. Oh, that was a good solution. And I'm figuring, I'm like, oh, this one's a little bit challenging. Oh no, I think I know what to do here. And then there finally became that one puzzle where I would just stare at my screen and be like, I got nothing. What do you want?
What do you want from me? Yeah.
I know that I need to get the thing into this thing, but then if I put this thing in that thing, I don't know how I'm supposed to get this thing because I need that thing to get this thing, but this thing is actually behind this thing, and this thing's all... And your just brain explodes and you go into overload and you're just done.
Yeah. It's on my hard drive. Maybe someday I'll get to it, but it's one that doesn't jump out at me as something that I immediately feel I need to play right away.
I know my girlfriend enjoyed it because she enjoyed watching me get really frustrated at it.
Was she able to solve the puzzles, or was she?
No, she was too busy enjoying me just being like, I'd finally figure out the solution. All you hear is just like, you know how like Yosemite Sam, whenever he was like stomping away, be like, shut the fuck up. It'd be me just going like, stupid fucking stupid ass goddamn piece of shit fucking game. as I'm doing the solution because I figured it out. I'm just like, stupid.
She's like, are you having fun? And you're like, yes, I'm playing video games. I'm having fun.
It's like, no, I'm not having fun playing this stupid game that I'm gonna finish because I'm too far in now. I have to see the end of this.
Yeah, I'm committed. So
I mean, awesome. If I was to give it a rating, it's a 6. Like, it's above average. Like, it's good at what it does, but like, puzzle games are already on a thin line with me. And then when you decide to try to treat me like, you know, I need to be like the guy who wins like hundreds of thousands of dollars at Jeopardy because he's so goddamn smart. Yeah, no, I don't like you anymore.
Oh man, Jeopardy is awesome. I love that show.
I like Jep because I feel smarter when I watch Jep.
What is Jep?
Oh, you never heard of Jep?
No.
Or Wheel of Fortune 2000?
No, what is this?
So I'm sure you've heard of the Game Show Network.
Yes.
They used to have a kids' time on Saturday morning or afternoons. So it's a bunch of kiddie games. So you'd have like, not like we have here in Canada, but something similar to that. So you'd have like a bunch of kids' game shows, and they'd have on the hour, they'd have Jep, which is Kid Jeopardy, and Wheel of Fortune 2000, which was the kids' version of Wheel of Fortune. And Jep was amazing because I would watch Jeopardy as a kid and be like, how the hell am I supposed to know that? Not thinking that these are all adults doing this. And then I play Jep and I'm like, I could win this.
I could totally take on these kids.
I still remember my best memory of game shows was when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the guy got to the $500,000 question.
Yes.
And the question was, which of these is not a Pokemon?
Oh, was that the question?
Yes. And I think it was like Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Charmander, and something else. I think it might have been a Digimon, actually, just to throw it off. Mm-hmm. And I sat there being like, it's this one. And then in my brain, in my little stupid kid brain was like, I could have won $500,000 without thinking, you had to answer the other questions before it, dumbass.
Yeah, you had to get all to that, but you had to get to that point.
But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm so smart, I could have won $500,000.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one episode where like the guy was at like the $1 million question or whatever. He hadn't used a single lifeline. Basically, this guy was like Rain Man. It's Slumdog Millionaire.
Was it the guy who called his parents just to say he was going to win? Yeah. I think that was the first guy. Wasn't it, I think it was like John Carpenter or something?
I don't remember his name. He might have been the first one.
If I'm right, I'm going to be so happy. First guy to win Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? John Carpenter. Holy shit. I am a genius. Fuck you, Maquette. I am a genius.
I don't need to play your mind games, Maquette. I know I'm smart. No, so I remember him and like, man, what a flex that was.
That is like, if memes were a thing back then, that would have been like one of the biggest ones that year.
Oh, 100%.
Just the absolute balls on that guy.
Yeah. No, I remember that one. That one was like smooth when he did that. I was like, well played, sir. Well played.
And then there was the person in British Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that got caught because his wife was coughing every time for an answer.
Was she really? I never saw that.
Yeah, that was a thing too that happened in the British version. A guy won $1 million and they realized that like she was coughing a lot in the crowd.
Man, I miss like the early 2000s game shows. Those were the best. Do you remember when Survivor came out and like it was first being produced and like everyone was like losing their minds? Like, you're gonna leave people on an island? Like we thought they were actually just gonna leave them there to just survive.
I would have been, I want to say, like 11 or 12 when that happened. And even as a kid back then, I went, "This is so fake."
Oh yeah.
And now I can't believe anybody who thinks any sort of reality TV show is real. Do you really think that Gene Simmons on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels is always getting into trouble every episode? Yeah. Do you really believe that every person on Big Brother actually hates each other? Do you really believe that every person on Hell's Kitchen is actually a garbage cook?
Yeah. No, I always love those like Hell's Kitchens and stuff where it's like home cooks and it's like, I'm making like truffle souffle. I'm like, fuck off. You're not a home cook. You know what the home cook's making? They're like, I made craft dinner.
If you're a home cook and making truffle souffle, you don't need the money at Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. You're not a home cook. Get out of here. Yeah, you're not. Like the home cooks are the ones who are like, I'm making craft dinner and I put like Parmesan on it, so like it's all fancy now. So
yeah, man, I was so cool. I went to the grocery store, got an Asian vegetable mix, and then I stir fried it with some friggin' chili sauce, and I fried my own steak to put into it.
There you go.
That's I can be on Hell's Kitchen and win easy.
Did you Instagram it?
No, because that would be dumb.
Then you didn't actually cook a meal.
If there is anything I will never be able to do in social media, it's Instagram. Jesus.
See, I've used it now, but it's primarily just for like my son, just to have pictures of him out in the ether. But
yeah, no, I think on my Facebook profile, which has been around for over a decade, I still think I'm under 300 pictures.
Are you really? Wow. Yeah.
Because I personally don't think most of what I do is interesting, so I don't document it. It's like whenever I used to come home from school all the time, my parents would be like, "So did you do anything today?" I'm like, "No, it's just cool." Yeah. Because my brain's like, yeah, I learned about not times tables. That would not have been happening in college. Like going to broadcasting for college, most of the time it was like, yeah, I learned how to turn on a camera.
Yeah. The red light means it's on.
Like, sure, there were times where I got to do like minor league hockey games and be the big camera up at the top that did the whole game. Sure. And there were times I got to like I got to meet Doug Gilmour one time when, cool. Toronto Maple Leafs fans would, or I guess most hockey fans would probably have heard of. So yeah. I would get cool stuff like that and I would talk about that. But if I come back from class and it's like, what did you learn? I mean, I learned how color balance works because my parents are so into that.
Yeah. They know exactly what you're talking about.
Be like, oh yeah, tell us more with that like fake, like bless your heart kind of accent.
Yeah, you could have been a doctor.
No. I'm not smart enough for that. We've already established this. I can't even beat Maquette without a guide.
Yeah.
I played Trauma Center one time. It didn't go well.
I can say proudly that every person that I've taken care of in a hospital setting has left the hospital.
Unless we're playing Theme Hospital, then it's fine. Theme Hospital, yeah. I can make it work.
For sure. We've gotten really off track, but I guess that's the whole point.
It's a press pause episode. What did you expect?
Exactly. You know what you got into. We told you from the front end. If you're still here, God bless you. We love you. Adam, one thing we were going to talk about, talking about what we've been playing. You've been playing Outriders. I've been playing Cyberpunk, and I know you played it a while ago and you weren't happy with it. I gotta say, on the PS5, it's not that bad. I know put that on the box cover. It's not that bad. But no, I kind of like it. They've done a lot of improvements with 1.2, and then they had the hotfix of a 1.21, and so it's working really well. Like I've had a couple crashes, maybe 2 now. Couple pixelated parts here and there, but it doesn't look terrible. I'm really happy with it. It's playable. I'm loving the story. I just got to the title screen. I was like playing and I'm like, oh, now I'm starting the game after like 4 or 5 hours because I'm just dragging my heels and I don't get a lot of time to play. But I'm liking it. And I think a lot of people, if you were on the fence, but you're really intrigued about Cyberpunk, sure, you could wait till the PS5, Xbox 360 or Xbox Series X or whatever comes out. But like, if you want to get into it, like, I think right now is a good time. It's running pretty well. There's not much coming out. I think now is a great time to jump in if you are at all interested in it. But I was thinking, Adam, rather than just having another chat about Cyberpunk, because we've talked about that a lot, I was thinking we could maybe talk about games that maybe deserve a second chance. And this can be games that either, panned with reviewers, but, you played it and it's like, oh, this is actually surprisingly good. Or games that came out that were kind of a mess, kind of got to the wayside, and then people eventually forgot about, but got improved on the back end and turned out really good. So if you don't have one off the go, I can lead this topic, but if you want to go first, you certainly can. What do you got?
Okay. I'm gonna go with the easy one for me, and this isn't like a second chance so much as I'm going to give you one more shot to not fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect Andromeda. Because the game wasn't bad, but the story, which is the whole thing that people liked about Mass Effect, was utter garbage.
Okay.
So I think I said it. I probably said it at some point when I first talked about Outriders. The beginning of Outriders is exactly what Mass Effect Andromeda should have been. So I'll summarize both really quickly. In Mass Effect Andromeda, you and a bunch of people from different races are all put into hypersleep, and you're shot into the Andromeda galaxy over the course of, I think, of like almost a century. And this is happening already long past like the events of the original trilogy. Because the idea is you're going to go colonize on a new planet now, or new galaxy now, because at this point, like, there's only going to be so many more opportunities to colonize on the Milky Way before we're going to eventually blow it up. So who knows? Mm-hmm. Just in case, let's have a whole civilization elsewhere so we can keep it going. And you decide on, this is the planet we're going to go at. This is going to be our home. This is going to be our first home, and we're going to spread out from there. And it was supposed to be perfect. Literally the most perfect copy of Earth possible. And then you get there, and it's already fucked. Already fucked beyond recognition. It's a planet of storms. It sucks. And then you get there, and the first thing you do is finally see a new alien race, and instead of first contact, you have to fight them no matter what. So your entire game about exploration and discovery starts with everything's fucked, and you have to fight. So it lost that purpose. Whereas
turns out we were the monsters all along.
Yeah. Whereas Outriders puts you on this planet, and it looks great. Beautiful waterfalls, like wildlife like you've never seen before, but they look tasty. And then you get to a certain point, and then you realize, oh shit, something's wrong with this planet. And then, the story goes to wherever it is. But the idea that at least Outriders gave you a fucking second to enjoy the planet you were supposed to colonize on. Because I said with Andromeda, I've said it so many times on different shows or on my own channel and whatever else. If I got to remake Andromeda from story aspect, I would not even have you fire your weapon for at least an hour in that game. I want you, as the explorer, to find what's on the planet. That means traversing, seeing just wildlife run off, finding ruins. Like, my goal was to be like, I want this game to be you go on a planet that when you first saw it, looked like there was no life. But in reality, you just landed on a world that's like us in caveman era.
Yeah.
So that way it's now you being the aliens on a caveman world. I thought that could be cool, and then the enemies would be like, I don't know, like another alien race in that galaxy that are trying to take over the planet and just enslave the caveman population or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's something cool with that because it's the exploration aspect. It's the finding new stuff. It's like it's like being the Christopher Columbus without the racist, enslavery, murderer bullshit. But all that cool stuff. That is a second chance I want. It's never obviously going to happen because it's a pure hypothetical, and I just got to hope that the sequel to the trilogy ends up being good. But Andromeda could have been so good if they actually tried to make the game they said they were going to, because it was supposed to be a game about you exploring a new galaxy and being able to find all these new things, when in reality it was a game where you fight fucking aliens and explore a couple of planets, I guess.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at a game that did come out. It didn't have great reviews and it was kind of broken. It got fixed along the way, and to be honest, I think is a really good game that kind of a lot of people just dismissed. And for me, that is Assassin's Creed Unity. If you talk to a lot of fans, a lot of them will say that that is probably one of the worst ones in the series. But for me, I think it's awesome. It had a bunch of hiccups and glitches, as we do expect from Ubisoft. But like, I think it kind of captured what we always wanted from an Assassin's Creed game. So it had, the assassinations, which was always something that like I felt that kind of got lost when Assassin's Creed moved into the new versions with Egypt, Greece, and Valhalla. And I feel like, you had that sort of city, hiding in urban areas, like, hiding in plain sight. The fact that you're able to crouch and go into doors and go into buildings, like that was all really cool. The graphics at the time were amazing. I really liked it. And I think it was one that came out really rough. And a lot of people saw like those hideous deformities in terms of like people missing like their whole faces and just having their eyes. I never had that issue. So my experience was different, but like I thought it was a really good game. And I think they did a lot of work in terms of updating it, making it look better. Like, I think if you are an Assassin's Creed fan and you never got into it, like I would highly recommend checking that one out, because it does I felt it was the culmination of what everything was working towards. And I felt like it was a good successor to, it holds up with stuff like Assassin's Creed 2. Like I would say Assassin's Creed Unity is probably one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. And it's just because it does have that feeling of the classic Assassin's Creed in an urban environment, hiding in the crowds, going after targets. The characters are cool. The story's kind of neat. Like it's this love story between, this woman who's sort of aligned with the Templars, you're sort of aligned with the Assassins, and how they kind of balance that out. I think it's really cool. And it's something that if you want to check it out, I think it's definitely one that the legacy or what people think of it is no longer what that game is now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never played Unity because the sense that I got from it was that it was a really broken mess. I'm like, I've already been burned out of Assassin's Creed. Like, it took me until Black Flag to really get back. And then obviously it took until Odyssey to come back again. So I guess it's kind of like the back and forth of like, I'm not sure which one I want to go with. So I've never gotten around to it. I probably won't at this rate, just because
there's so many.
There's so much else to do.
Yeah, I would just say like if you are an Assassin's Creed fan, like it does capture that old feel of like Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio. Like you're climbing these buildings, you're in like a historical European city. I mean, seeing Notre Dame is really cool. And then you do like these little vignettes where you're like they kind of do it now with the modern ones with like Valhalla and stuff, but like you go into like other time periods. So like you're in World War One and like or Paris during World War One or World War Two, I can't remember. But you're like seeing what it could be in different timelines. And I think that was something that was really cool.
Yeah. So we went from game that I want a second chance because I selfishly want them to not screw it up again, to this is a game that I really, really wish that people would give it more attention to and gets a second crack at it. Alpha Protocol, which was a game on 360 PS3.
I was going to say this one too.
So people really love like your Mass Effects and the games of that, like your Dragon Ages, where it's the games where it's you play, story envelops around you, you make your own choices, the ending shapes kind of around you. Alpha Protocol is that, but if it was a James Bond game.
Yes. Alpha Protocol was so good.
It is, and quite honestly, in playing the game, like I've replayed it not recently, but like maybe like a year or so ago. It's janky as shit.
Yeah.
But back then, it was really good for its time, and the concept and the story was actually surprisingly well told. Especially or SIE, or I think that's who it was, the crazy Russian girl.
Yes.
Oh man, it's so cliche too. Like it's the dumb fun kind of campy, like really old school cliche. Like, I mean, come on, it's a giant muscular blonde Russian girl with a friggin' Spetsnaz beret on her head. Like, what do you expect?
And she's got like a massive like machine gun or sniper rifle across her like shoulders. She just hangs out with.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, no, I'm just chilling.
See, I remember that game because I put like high charisma on it because that's apparently how I roll.
You just talk your way to everything. You just sweet talk out of everything.
You could literally just miss boss fights and just be like, nah, let's not do this. And they're like, okay, cool, whatever.
I mean, what other game was similar to that? I mean, Deus Ex kind of allowed that a little bit too.
Yeah, Deus Ex was another one that a lot of people had gripes with. One of the problems with that game was that you could try and do a pacifist, no kill scenario, but then they would drop you into these boss fight scenarios, and then you're like, well, I'm stuck now because you have to kill those guys. But Alpha Protocol, yeah, what an awesome game. It was I think it was really ahead of its time.
Yeah, if you put that kind of game out now, like with a modern flair to it, I think this could be like a mega hit.
100%.
Especially because it's a genre of games that aren't really like, we're getting an IO interactive Bond game finally.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Maybe we'll finally get some nice, good spy games going again, like in terms of like, a AAA level. That'd be nice. Alpha Protocol is a game I'd love to see them do that with, though, because man, like a lot of people will look at what that game is and think like, that doesn't look that special. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look special, and honestly, it really isn't. But what it does is tell a spy thriller kind of story in ways that you've never really seen it told in a game.
Yeah, it's literally a spy RPG, which is something that we don't get a lot. And the fact that it's made by, I think it's made by Obsidian, right? The guys who made Fallout New Vegas.
I'd have to check, but
double check that.
I think you're.
Yeah, so it doesn't follow like a linear storyline in the sense of like you go here, fight this bad guy, fight this bad. Like you can choose what missions you do, and that would impact. So like you could do a mission where you get intel on like some Russian aristocrat or something like that. But you would only get that if you did that mission before you went there. So the decisions you make and like which order you do the levels will impact how you interact with those levels. So they reference like, oh yeah, you were back here in like Cuba or something like that. I'm just making this up. But like, oh, I remember you from Cuba. You met them there. But you may not have, like if you didn't do Cuba before you played this other level.
Yeah, and you were right, it was Obsidian.
Yeah. So just imagine Obsidian storytelling from New Vegas put into a spy thriller.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like for its time, it was really damn fun.
Yeah. And I think that brings up another one that like kind of needs a second chance is like the Deus Ex series. I feel like Cyberpunk kind of like that game kind of shows that we need another Deus Ex game. Like that Cyberpunk.
I will say I've never really cared much for Deus Ex, and then Human Revolution came out and I like that, and then Mankind Divided came out and I hated it, and I don't even know why.
I think the reason why is that Human Revolution was more like, I guess my understanding is that game was supposed to be a trilogy. So you had Mankind Divided, you had Human Revolution, and then there was supposed to be a third one. And this was like, I think even at some point it may have just been a DLC or something. But I think the problem is that like Human Revolution was so massive in scope and so large, and then like Mankind Divided felt very small. And this is both a good and bad thing. Like one thing I'm finding right now with Cyberpunk, and it's probably because it's just a new game, but that game feels massive, and I don't know where I'm going, and it doesn't feel like a city. Like it doesn't feel like somewhere I'm going to get familiar with. The cool thing with Prague and Mankind Divided is that I knew where the streets were. Like you play this one map over and over, and you go into like the different buildings. That by the end, I knew where I was at any given time, and I knew the like locations in the streets, and I can even still think about it today, and I can navigate through that part of Prague. And I think that was a good thing from a gameplay design, but I think it also kind of hinders it in that you're stuck in this little smaller story that doesn't really have, it didn't feel like it had larger implications.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't even last an hour into it. Just for whatever reason, it just bored me. And I'm not sure maybe if it just started on a really bad foot and I was just like, I got some, because that's the other thing too, because like we said earlier, there's so many games out there. It's so hard because it's easy to just be like, this isn't doing anything for me. Let's just jump into this thing and try that now.
I think one of the problems with Mankind Divided, if I remember correctly, is that they drop you in and they instantly just dump a whole bunch of exposition on you, and you're like, I don't really remember all this, and I think it throws a lot at you at the very beginning. But that was a good game. One last game I was going to kind of give a shout out to, and it's not one game in particular, but it's one that always gets a lot of crap. But I think if you look back in hindsight, is actually pretty good. Is the Fable series?
Okay.
Did you ever play that one?
I've played all three of them, and I actually, in retrospect, I hate all three of them, so I can't wait to hear this.
So I think like I played the Fable series back in like in high school / early university, and I thought they were cool. I know Peter Molyneux had a propensity for overselling things and building things up, and probably set expectations higher than they should have.
I mean, realistically, he was a charlatan and a crook. He lied to you a lot of the time just to get you interested.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. But I mean, I never got into that. Like, Fable wasn't one of those ones that I was buying full price, but I was picking them up when they were like $20 a piece, and I thought they were awesome. Like, they cool cartoons, especially Fable 1. Like, it feels like a fantasy RPG kind of game light in the sense of, doing that. Like, I think it's like a good little game in terms of what it is.
They all have good moments. Like Fable 1 is pretty good at just the fantasy aspect. 2 is the only weird one because I think 2 is just one of the weakest games I think I've played in a long time.
I would
agree.
Just
like, yeah, okay, it's Fable 1 all over again, except we're not gonna have a good ending.
Yeah, I agree.
Just Fable like, hey, here's this enemy that you totally kind of disliked, and then even if you don't want to shoot him, somebody else will shoot him for you. So either way, it has to end. It's just like the freedom of choice was really not in that game. And then the third game was really cool for about 2 minutes when you got to be the king, and then they took it away and just made it like every other thing where it's just the darkness.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to say that those games are great, but I think a lot of people had problems with them when they first came out, and I think in retrospect, they probably are hated more than they should be.
I mean, we're certainly going to see if they can improve upon it with the actual second chance they're going to give it. So
we will see. But yeah, those are the ones I'd give a shout out to. I mean, there's the obvious one of like No Man's Sky. I think but I've never played it, but I know a lot of people say.
Yeah, a lot of people have given it the second chance. So I don't even think we need to list that one because we're not going to go with done it. The last one I can think of, and this is, well, I mean, there's a lot I could think of, but I didn't want to go too long with it.
No, let's go with it.
This one is a game that I want people to be able to play, and for my own selfishness, I want this in 3D at the highest quality level because I would love to see this game properly done. Phantasy Star 4 that used to be on the Sega Genesis was a really like Sega Genesis was not known for being an RPG console because that was pretty much Nintendo's thing, especially with Final Fantasy, and then later on Chrono Trigger on the SNES and many others. Because like you had your Secret of Manas and other games like that too, even like Earthbound and shit too.
Yeah,
Genesis really didn't have it. The only thing they had was Phantasy Star, and I haven't played any of them except for 4. And 4 is like what happens if you get a space RPG. Like Star Ocean kind of does that, but like Phantasy Star is a lot grittier in a like not in terms of like dark, depressing, just more like it's not just super bubbly, colorful shit. Like the online game that they do now is the super bubbly, colorful anime shit. Phantasy Star 4, on the other hand, was pretty realistic in what a space RPG would look like. And for what it was, like for a Sega Genesis game too, like it actually told a really damn good story. And they also had these really cool cuts. Like they found a way to have good like cutscenes in a Genesis game, which was to have like almost like comic strips as like the cutscenes for it. Kind of like what Spider-Man Maximum Carnage did.
Oh yeah.
So like they found a pretty decent way of like telling their story, and like they even had like by the way, they killed off a major playable character long before Aerith ever died, or Aerith I should say, because Final Fantasy changes the names constantly. Yeah. In Final Fantasy 7. Yeah, no, they kill off a character in Phantasy Star 4 long before any of the stuff happened in Final Fantasy. So they did it first. And I'm sure somebody else would be like, actually, this game did it even before that. But no, like, I would love to see, like, with Mass Effect level graphics, to see a Phantasy Star 4. Yeah. Because I would love to play a super epic space RPG with like that sort of anime flair to it, but still like a more grounded, like more realistically like design game instead of it just being all about like the pretty anime girls. As much as I like that too.
Yeah, I mean that's one that I've never really played or seen, so I really can't speak much to it. But sounds awesome.
I mean, the battle theme alone, like if there's anything anybody needs to do, just Google the battle theme for Final Fantasy 4. Or God damn it, I did it again. Phantasy Star 4, and just listen to that, and you'll get a pretty good sense of like this game isn't screwing around.
Now, does it like hold up? Like if I was able to get like an emulation of it, would it be worth playing?
I could still play it and enjoy it. The only thing that you want to check is they don't have descriptions for abilities, because the old games didn't generally do the explanation stuff. But like Final Fantasy would have like fire and ice. You don't always know what the Phantasy Star spells do because they're abbreviated. So that's the only thing I would say is just check what the abilities are beforehand. But as like an old school JRPG, like I can still go back and play that game. It's still pretty nice.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a huge sci-fi guy, so a space RPG definitely sounds great.
I mean, literally the first thing you do in that game is find like a secret lab basement where there's like these giant like space ant things.
Cool.
Then there's Earth Defense Force. That's a game that I wish more people would play too. That game is stupid fun.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah,
You
for
want
sure.
and they still make those games, and it's
I
the
know they
exact
do.
same game. But what else do you want? You get to shoot giant space ants.
Yeah, I remember. So talking about space ants, like giant space ants, that gets me thinking of like, did you ever play the game Zombies Ate My Neighbors for
Yes,
like the Super NES? Like,
absolutely.
remind me, did they not have a level where there was like giant ants and stuff like that running around
I
that you had
don't
to
know.
shoot?
That might have been later in the game, but there were giant babies. I know that much.
Yes, that's yeah. I know there was that. I think there might have been giant ants at one point too. But
Probably, it
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. I got killed way too quickly in those games because they were
Oh, we were
designed to
using.
be hard.
Oh yeah, my sister and I were like just stealing like or just using like game codes and stuff to get to like the next level. So
Yeah.
our used copy had like game codes, so we're just cheating and putting in those codes to get to those levels. But yeah,
But
awesome
seriously,
game.
people, if you like Starship Troopers, you need to play an Earth Defense Force game.
Yeah,
Like, legit. It is the closest thing you will ever get to real Starship Troopers, the video game. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even being
yeah,
hyperbolic. It's literally as close as you'll ever get.
for sure. All right, Adam. I think that wraps up this episode.
I think it does.
Anything you want to leave off with, or anything we forgot to cover?
I'm still not playing Cyberpunk. It's still broken.
Oh, I mean, like if you're not in a rush, I
You're
would
like, oh, it's only
definitely.
crashed twice on me.
So I'm not.
And I'm
once
sitting here
again,
playing 4 Trails of Cold Steel games after 500 hours being like, I crashed 0 times.
I am not trying to advocate that the game is completely fixed or anything like that. Please do not take it that way. All I'm saying is that like I am dying to play it. Like I am.
Oh,
A
when
huge...
the actual official like re-release on and like the upgraded version on PS5 comes out, and if it's a cheaper price now, because I'm not falling for that twice, CD Projekt Red, then I'll definitely give it a shot. But until then, I'm not touching it with a 50-foot, actually a 2,077-foot long pole. Ha!
Fair enough. See, I'm so excited for it, and then, like my thought process is that like it's gonna come out probably like holiday season 2021, and by that point I'm gonna have Horizon Zero Dawn, and like I'm not gonna
Which is
have
free right
time.
now on PlayStation.
That's true, but I'm not gonna have time to go back and play Cyberpunk. So I'm like, I've got the time now. It's functional, and I'm loving the story. So for me, I don't care. I am looking forward to. I've made an agreement with myself that I'm going to play the game now, and then when it comes out on the PS5, I'll do the DLC and all that stuff with the updated
Well, that's the beauty
PS5.
too. You can always just play a completely different character with a different path, so it's not like you won't have another way of playing it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing right now. So right now I'm playing as a street kid, anti-corpo, like fuck the corpos.
Oh, I was totally going corpo first time. I'm like, you know what? We're fighting the power right away.
No, you are the power if you're the corpo.
No, like, for about 15 minutes you are.
Yeah, no, I'm now the street kid being like fuck corpo, and I'm just climbing my way to the top.
Look, I wanted the fancy cars, and then within 15 minutes, it's like, oh, I don't have the fancy cars.
See, my guy was always poor, and he's just fighting his way to the top.
The one that I didn't get right away was the nomad. I'm like, oh, so basically you're the antisocial guy. Well, that's no fun.
It's antisocial. You're a drifter, right? Like,
Yeah, but we all know the kind of people that would associate with the nomad.
Yeah. No, it's corpo or street kid. The nomad was kind of like a cop.
Why can't it just be like the shut in? Where's that character?
He's shut in. That's why you don't see him.
That would be an amazing game. It's just all the stuff's going on outside, and you just look out your window, being like, "Not today," and just close the curtains.
Yeah, you just peek out your window, like, "What are they doing today?" Yeah, I'm not going out
and
there.
then you just go back and play Minecraft.
Exactly.
Minecraft 2077. Do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about concludes episode 14, our second ever press pause episode. Thank you guys for sticking around for this one. Hopefully some news will drop for next week, but we always enjoy doing this one. It's kind of nice to just ramble and chat. You get to know a little bit more about who we are and just where our minds are at, or what little minds we have. I know we've had a lot of new listeners coming in, so if you're one of the new listeners, thank you so much for joining us. If you liked it, please subscribe. Feel free to stick around. We really appreciate you guys. If you guys are one of our longtime subscribers, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. If you're not aware, we are on Twitter at Pixel Playcast, also on Instagram. That one's been a little bit dormant right now, and it's something that we're going to be working on. But yeah, so we're on at Pixel Playcast, Instagram, Pixel Playcast. And if you have questions, you want to email the show, get in touch with us. That is done through pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. We are basically anywhere that you guys get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts now.
It finally happened.
We did it.
Basically, I gave Anchor a stern email being like, hey guys, it's been like 6 weeks. Like, can we have it?
Yeah.
I guess it's been more like 3 months.
Yeah, I mean more than that because
Yeah, this
4
is
months
14, so it's like 3.5.
Yeah,
It's
been
like, hey
14 weeks since
guys,
we've
like
asked
we've
them.
been a podcast for like 3 months now, and it's still not on Apple. Can we figure that out?
We did it. So yeah, if you are one of the first times, we hope you enjoyed the show. We hope to see you again next week. If you are one of the long times, thank you so much. We really appreciate it for you. This is really how we put value on ourselves, so it means a lot to us. If you want to, if you like the show, please share it with your friends. Share it to your social media. Tell your grandma about it. We don't care who's listening as long as someone's listening.
We love you, Grandma.
We do. We love you, Grandma. So yeah, share it with all your friends. Let them know about the podcast, and we hope to see you guys again next week. All right. Once again, have a good one.